welcome to our daily devotional series, Messages from Tiny People. Our lesson for today comes from the book of Genesis, like the Botswanas would say. And it comes from Genesis chapter 45, verse 8. And we are going to learn from the man Joseph. And I've decided to entitle this lesson, Trust the Process. Yes, you need to trust the process. We find the man Joseph being loved by his father and hated by his brothers, and we'll pick up our story when he is sent by his father to go and check up on his brothers, and the brothers decide to betray the father's trust and decide to kill Joseph. But by God's providence, one of the brothers say, no, let's not just kill him, let us just throw him in a pit. And so Joseph is there in the pit, and the brothers are in their eyes, they are seeing them punishing Joseph. And as Joseph is in the pit, one of those days the Ishmaelites pass by, and the brother decides to sell him. And as they sell him to the Ishmaelites, Joseph is taken to Potiphar's house, and he works there as a servant, and he's prosperous. And then the wife of Potiphar again decides to tempt Joseph, and Joseph denies the temptations. He runs away with his life, and there we find again Joseph in the prison, once again in the pit of the prison. And so I want us to learn from Joseph's experience that we need to understand that, in our lives we will go through a sequence, we will go through a process, and that process is painful because we are living in a life or in a world that is filled with sin. Our life will not be perfect. Our life will be filled with pain. Why? Because God is purifying his people. God sits as a refiner. That's what the Bible says. And the Bible talks about God saying, I will sit as a refiner to make sure you are pure. God wanted Joseph to reach somewhere. But for Joseph to reach there, God had to move him in a process. And you need to trust the process. Sometimes you need to understand that when you are seemingly to be in a pit, God is taking you to another level. To the brothers, Joseph was in a pit waiting to die, but to God that was just a bus stop, a waiting station for Joseph to be taken to another place. And when the time had come, Joseph was taken to another level. And as he was in Potiphar's house, God said, this is not your destination. Joseph was taken again to prison. And as he was in the prison, in the fires of prison, Joseph was in the waiting place, waiting again to be taken into another place. And from the prison he goes to the palace. Trust the process. Right now you might be in the fire. Just know that after the fire there is the glory. The 3 Hebrew boys were thrown into the fire, and when they were taken out of the fire, they were promoted. This is how God works with his children. Trust the process. When you don't understand, don't get mixed in the details. Look and see where you are positioned. When God says, I know the plans that I have for you, sit down and ask him, what are the plans? Because mostly the plans are to pass through fire. And so I want to encourage someone this morning, or whatever time this message reaches you, that you need to trust the process that God is making you go through. At the end of the day, you are going to be successful. However, Joseph knew that this process does not end in the palace of Pharaoh as a governor. He knew that he did not belong there, because as he is dying, he tells them, when God shall deliver you from Egypt, please take my bones with you to Canaan. He knew that everything is temporary. The process is taking us to a final destination, that is the heavenly Canaan, if we allow God to work in our hearts, if we allow God to work in our lives. At the end, Joseph's bones were carried after he encountered the glory in Egypt as a governor. He died, and his bones are there lying, waiting for the resurrection. And so just know that if you are in the fire, God is purifying you for a promotion. When you get out of the fire, he will only take you out of the fire when you reflect him, when you are as pure as gold. Trust the process. Lay your life in God's hands, and you will come out as pure as gold. God bless you.